get you guys going. Just give me a second. All right. So remember, inequalities just mean it's not equal to. It could be greater than, it could be less than, it could be greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. So just to remind you of those symbols, greater than looks like this. Less than is this way. Greater than or equal to and less than or equal to. If you can't find your notes, you guys can just do this on paper. It's not a huge deal, okay? Then we have two other things up here, an open circle and a closed circle. So what open circle means is that you just literally make a circle. And then closed circle means you make a circle, but you fill it in. So for your examples, I'm going to do those on paper so that I'm not like trying to squish it in that little bitty area. You should be fine, but I like to show every step really big so you guys can see it. So just so you know, I'm going to do it on a separate sheet of paper. So number one is negative 4n minus 2 is greater than negative 78. Okay. Again, so this is on your notes. It's number one. I just copied it onto this notebook paper. You're going to work these the same way you would work any kind of linears at all, okay? There's only one extra step that you might have to do. So the first thing that you want to do is find out what you're solving for. What are we solving for in this one? What letter? What letter? N. So when we solve for n, what's on the same side but not with it? So there's your side. What am I getting rid of? Negative 2. How do I get rid of negative 2? So it's the same thing we've been doing. Don't take anything away from it. Same thing. Your 2's cancel out. We'll bring down our negative 4n. Bring down that inequality. It is greater than. You don't have to know the name of it. You just have to know what it means, okay? So when we start to work on those. Then if you need to, use your calculator, but negative 78 plus 2 is negative 76. All right, so then if you were solving this normally, how would I get rid of the negative 4? Divide by negative 4. Now, listen carefully. Here's your rule. If you divide or multiply by a negative, flip the inequality. That's the only new rule to solving inequalities compared to equations. That's it. Everything else is exactly the same. All right, so what that means is, just like with your equation, those 4's will cancel out, leaving you with just n. We're going to change the sign because we divided this number right here. Is this number negative? We don't care about the top one. We don't care about the 76. We only care about the bottom one. Is that bottom number negative? If it is, then we're going to flip the sign to be less than instead of greater than. And then, like I said, you guys go ahead and use your calculators for right now. So negative 76 divided by negative 4, and we get positive 19. That's it. So then down below that, you guys have a number line. On that number line, you see 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here's what you need to know. An open circle goes with greater than or less than, and a closed circle goes with less than or greater than or equal to. Okay, so if it has a line, fill it in. If it does not, don't. So on ours, we had n is less than 19. N is less than 19. So we're going to find 19, and because it doesn't have a line, we're just going to put an open circle. And I over-exaggerate mine so that you guys can see it. I want to be able to see that it is an open circle, okay? And then what's really cool about this is, like I told you, you don't have to know whether it's less than or greater than, right? As long as the N is on that side. If we draw an arrow right here, it's pointing to the way that we shade. It should look like this. And again, I over exaggerate it so that you guys can see it, okay? That's it. So that's how you graph them. So solve it just like equations with the new rule. If it's multiply or divide by a negative, you change the sign. And then you want to graph it. Okay. I'm going to move down to number 3. I'm going to go down to number 3. I'm going to skip number 2 for a minute. We're going to go to number 3. I'm going to write it down on my paper. Negative 134 less than negative 8 minus 9x. And then I'm going to put it up here so you can see it. Okay, again, doing number 3. We're trying to solve for x. What do we need to get rid of? What's on the same side but not on the same side?
Negative 8.
Perfect. How do I get rid of that negative 8? Thank y'all for answering.
Add.
Perfect. And again, if you're not very good at adding those, that's perfectly fine. Use your calculator. Negative 134 plus 8 is negative 126. We bring down that inequality sign. And then we were left with, make sure you bring down the negative with the 9. The last step, how do we get x by itself? Divide negative 9. We divided by a negative, right? So if this number is negative, we have to flip the sign. So we're going to flip it. These cancel out and give you x. Negative 126 divided by negative 9 is 14. Now, to graph, if you're just giving me this answer, it is perfectly fine, okay? You don't have to flip it or anything. But to graph, you want to make sure that your x or your variable is on that left side. So all you do is write it completely backwards. So x, instead of greater than, is going to go to less than. Why do I know that? Because it's pointing at the x. So I need to make it point at the x. And then 14. Okay. I'm going to go back to my paper real fast. I got x is less than 14. To graph it, I find the number 14. Is it open or closed? Open. Why is it open? It doesn't have the inequality equal. Okay, so open at 14. And then this inequality is pointing to the left. So I'm shading to the left. I'm going to go to number 4. I'm just writing that down right now. Negative 31 less than or equal to negative 5 minus 2b. Okay, so again, all I did was write down number 4. I'm solving for b, so I need to get rid of the 5. How do I get rid of a minus 5 or a negative 5? Add it to both sides. If I'm not sure what that is, I can use my calculator. Negative 31 plus 5 is negative 26. Bring your inequality straight down and bring down the rest of what you have. So the 5s cancel out and you're left with a negative 2b. Don't forget to bring the negative down. Divide by negative 2. What did I divide by? What kind of number? What's our rule say? If you what? Divide or multiply by what kind of number? A negative. Thank you for answering. I really appreciate it. So again, we divided by negative 2. That means we're going to flip that sign. Our 2's cancel out and leave us with B. And then negative 26 divided by negative 2 is 13. Again, if you're just solving, this answer is perfectly fine for me. I don't need it to change at all. Okay. If you're graphing, you need to write it backwards. Guys, we need to be taking notes. So our heads need to be up and our pencils need to be moving. Okay. What? Well, all you have to do is ask. You're welcome. This one is pointing towards the B. So we're going to make sure when we turn it around, it's still pointing towards the B. And then we have 13. Or you can think about it as the alligator mouth. The alligator mouth was eating the 13. So make sure when you flip it around, it's still eating the 13. Okay. That's pretty elementary, but if you can remember it that way, that is perfectly fine. Okay. Everybody good? All right. So now we're going to graph it. I'm going to rewrite it on my paper. B is less than or equal to 13. We're going to find 13. And because it has an equal mark, 10, 11, 12, 13. We're going to fill that circle in because it's an equal mark. And then this inequality is pointing to the left. Again, you don't have to make your arrows that big or anything. It's just so you guys can see them on my paper. All right. We're going to jump back up to number 2. Negative 9 plus r over 3 is less than negative 7. So here's number 2. Okay, remember how we solve these. Ignore the inequality for just a minute. What's on the same side as r but not with it? Remember, if we have a fraction, the bottom is not with the r. So how do I get rid of a divide 3? Multiply 3. It's okay. So those will cancel out. We get negative 9 plus r is less than negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. How do I get r by itself? It has a negative 9 with it. How do I get rid of that negative 9? Add it. Perfect. So I get r is less than, again, if you need to, don't freak out, negative 21. Sorry, I didn't type it in right. Plus 9 is negative 12. The r is on the correct side. I don't have to flip this one. It is good to go. I didn't divide or multiply by a negative, so I didn't have to flip the inequality. Okay. If the 3 would have been negative, you would have had to flip the inequality because we multiplied by 3. But it wasn't, so we're good. Okay, so just an example. So I'm going to copy it down on my paper. We had r was less than negative 12. We're going to find negative 12. And it's going to be an open circle because it's not equal to. And it's pointing towards the r or towards the left side. Okay. So that's what it's going to look like. You will have to graph these today. So make sure you know the difference between the open and closed. And it's going to be on that EDIA app. So it's going to show you everything. So make sure that you know the difference between open and closed and which way you should shade. All right. I'm going to copy down number 5 and we're going to work on number 5. Negative 18 plus 8r is less than or equal to negative 3 times 1 minus r. So again, we're just doing number 5. What's the first thing that I should do? What do you think? What's weird about this one? It's got those parentheses. Can I get rid of them? Yeah, distribute. Get rid of those things. So negative 18 plus 8r is less than or equal to. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 times negative r. Negative times negative makes a positive. And then 3 times r is 3r. All right, so this is from day 2. If I have variables on opposite sides, I want to get rid of them. So I'm going to move my 3. The reason I'm going to move my 3 on this one is to make sure my R is on this side in the end. Can you move the 8? Absolutely. You'll just have to flip it around when you're done. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. I'm going to choose the 3 on this one. It's a positive 3, so I'm going to subtract 3. That leaves me with negative 18. 8 minus 3 is 5. Less than or equal to. Bring down that negative 3, and your 3 R's canceled out. Now it's just like the other ones. Look at what you got first.
Positive 18.
Add 18 to both sides. Perfect. You bring down your 5R. Less than or equal to. 18 minus 3 is 15. Again, if you need your calculators, use them. And then the last step, divide by 5. We did not divide or multiply by a negative, so we leave that inequality alone. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. I'm going to graph this one. So on number 5, I got R is less than or equal to 3. So I'm going to find 3. I fill it in because it's equal to, and then it's pointing to the left. So I'm going to graph it to the left. Maybe in a minute we'll get one to the right. Who knows? They all do. Okay. All right, number 6. I'm just copying it down. 4k plus 3 times k plus 6 less than or equal to 7k plus 20. What do we need to get rid of first? Parentheses, so we're going to distribute in. So we have 4k plus 3 times k is 3k. 3 times 6 is 18. Less than or equal to 7k plus 20. Before we do anything else, you guys look. We have like terms right here side by side. If they are on the same side, you just squish them together. Don't change their signs. Don't do anything crazy. Just literally add them. 4 plus 3. What is 4 plus 3? 7k. Then we have a plus 18 less than or equal to 7k plus 20. How do I solve? When I have variables on both sides, what do I got to do? Subtract one of them. These both happen to be the same, so they cancel out, and check out what we get. 18 less than or equal to 20. Remember, we had this with equations. We had some where we had to have equals or not equal or something like that. So my question is this true or false? Is 18 less than 20? Yes. So this one is true. Remember, when it's true, it's going to be all numbers. It's going to be everything. Okay. So if you're wondering how to graph that, you literally just graph the number line. So when we look at number 6, you would have an arrow over here, an arrow over here, and fill in between. So that's how you graph all numbers. If it would have been false, you don't graph anything. There's nothing that will work. It'll just be a blank graph. All right, we're going to flip our notes. These are those word problems again. Let me grab a new set real fast because I'm getting blood all through it. Sorry, y'all. want you to be able to read it. All right, so now we're back to word problems. Same thing that we did with our equations, just now we're with the inequalities. All right, so represent each of the following as an algebraic inequality. So we're just writing it, we're not trying to solve it, just write it. It said x is at most 30, at most. At most means that is as big as it gets. Do not go any higher. So which way do we have to go? Greater than or less than? It cannot be higher. It's at most. That's the max.
Less than?
Less than. Okay, so this is going to be x is less than 30. My question is, can it be equal to 30? Yes, at most means less than or equal to. So if at most is less than or equal to, what is at least? Say it again. I didn't hear you. More than or greater than. You're absolutely correct. All right. So it says the sum of 5x and 2x. So we're going to add those, the sum, you guys know that, is at least, that means the littlest it can be is 14. So it's got to be bigger or equal to 14. So this one is greater than or equal. You need to know these terms, okay? You need to know these terms. And I'm writing them here so that you guys can go back and look at it, okay? The product of x and y. What is product? What's that mean? A product. Everybody knows what sum is. What about product? Nobody?
Add?
Sum is add. Product is going to be multiply. So it's the answer to a multiply. Okay, so if you see product, that means multiply. The product of x and y, so we're going to multiply x and y. This one tells you specifically is less than or equal. Less than or equal to 4. Okay, watch this one. Remember what I told you about the words less than. It's going to be subtract, but we got to think backwards. Remember that. Okay, anytime we see less than, we think backwards. So 5 less than a number y is under 20, under 20. So we're going to talk about that. 5 less than a number y, we think backwards. It's going to be y, and then you did say subtract 5. Okay, so anytime we see less than, think backwards. What does under mean? Greater than or less than?
Less than?
Less than. Is it going to be equal to? Is it going to be equal to? Is 20 under 20? I know that sounds stupid, but for real, it's not, right? So we cannot use equal marks on this one. So if it's under, it's just strictly less than. So watch all of those words, okay? So we have 5 more and then we're going to be done, okay? We're going to work on our homework. You guys are going to do this again tomorrow, okay? So we'll do a short Zoom tomorrow and then you'll have practice with this again, all right? So if 5 times a number is increased by 4, the result is at least 19, okay? So let's set it up and then we'll talk about how to solve and what question we're trying to ask. How do I write 5 times a number?
5, then the number?
Do we know the number? So we put x, perfect. 5 times a number, anytime it says a number, it's wanting you to use a variable. You can use n, you can use r, I don't care. We like to use x, so that's what we use. Is increased by 4. How do I do that? Plus 4, perfect. What was our inequality for at least? Okay, our inequality is going to be less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. Go back up here. Which one did we use for at least? Greater than or equal to 19. So use your cheat sheet. Use your cheat sheet. All right. Now we just solve it, and it says find the least possible number. Least possible number. And we'll talk about that when we finish. How do we solve this? That's what we just did in our notes.
Get rid of the 4.
So we're going to subtract our 4. I'm going to write it up here because I'm going to run out of room. 5x is greater than or equal to 15. How do I solve?
15 divided by 5.
Perfect, divide by 5. And remember, I don't change anything because there was no negative in there. And I get x is greater than or equal to 3. All right, listen carefully. It wants the least number possible. So out of these values, give me some numbers greater than 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, all of those, right? Equal to means we can have 3. So 3, 4, 5, 6, and everything above. What's your littlest number? No. Out of this value. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3. That would be your least possible number. So remember what this means is 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So our least has to be 3. All right. The next one, the sum of twice a number and 5 is at most 15. So let's take it slow. The sum means we do what? Add twice a number. How do I write that? To what? And then we don't know the number, so it's going to be x, right? Add and 5. Perfect. The sum of twice a number, 2x, and 5. At most, what did we use for at most up there? Look in your examples 1 through 4. Find at most.
Less than or equal to.
Perfect. Use that cheat sheet. And then 15. We're going to solve it, and then we'll go back and see what we're trying to ask for, okay? We'll see what it's asking for. How do I solve this? Perfect. Subtract 5. I get 2x is less than or equal to 10. How do I finish? You're perfect. Divide by 2. I do not change anything because there was no negative in there. So I get x is less than or equal to 5. It says, what are the possible values for the number? If they ever give you something like this, it's probably going to be multiple choice because how many values could you list? A lot, right? So they might have a like multiple choice with the ones that you can get, okay? So what are your values? Your values would be 5 and then less than 4, 3, 2, 1, and so on. Does that make sense? So just watch what they're asking. You're solving them perfect. Watch your questions. All right, so number 3, you don't have to set up. You can solve it by common sense. You guys can do this. It's really simple. It says the cost of a gallon of orange juice is $3.50. What is the maximum number of containers you can buy for $15? So how do I figure out how many containers I can buy in general?
15 divided by 350.
Perfect. And you don't have to, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to set up an equation or an inequality. So we get 15 divided by 350 is 4.28. The question is, what's the max number of containers I can buy? Can I buy 0.28 of a container? What's the max I can buy? 4. I can't buy the 5th one because I don't have enough money for it. That's it. All right, back to normal ones. 3 times a number, how do I write that?
within the upper,
3x,
subtract 8.
increased,
On,
add 8, is no more than. So if it's not more than, what does it have to be? If it's no more than, what does it have to be? If it can't be more, yes, it has to be less than. Can it be that if it's no more than? So if I tell you you have a $10 bill and you can spend no more than $10, can you spend the $10? Yes. So this one actually is going to be equal to. So just be aware of that. So no more than is another one that's going to be less than or equal to. So you might want to write that up there just in case. The number, what do we choose for our number? Over here we said 3 times the number was 3x. So what was our number? Yeah. X decreased by 4. Decrease means subtract 4. That one was kind of hard. That was a hard one. And just remember, anytime it says a number, that means you're going to put a letter. All right, we got to get our x's on the same side. So I'm going to subtract this positive 1x. 3 minus 1 is 2x. Bring down my 8. Less than or equal to, your x's cancel out. Bring down negative 4. What do I do now? Subtract 8. Still the same work. So I get 2x is less than or equal to negative 4 minus 8 is negative 12. Again, I haven't multiplied or divided by a negative, so everything stays exactly the same. Finish it out by dividing by 2. I did not divide by a negative, okay? The 2 is not negative, so everything stays the same. And I get negative 6. This one just says find the number. We're done. And then the very last one. 2/3 what? Of a number. How do I write of a number? Perfect. Plus 5. This one spells it out for you. Is greater than 12. How do we solve this one? Subtract 5. We get 2/3 x because the 5 cancels out. Is greater than 12 minus 5 is 7. How do I solve for x? You can do this 2 different ways. You can divide by 2/3, which some of you have been doing. It's perfectly fine. Or we see a divide 3, so we can multiply 3. This is the way that I would do it. You get 2x is greater than 7 times 3 is 21. And then your last step is divide 2. We didn't divide by a negative, so we keep it the same. And 21 divided by 2 is 10.5. Sorry, y'all. Can't see that, can you? It says find the number. That's the number. Okay. All right. So I'm going to look at, stay with me. Don't go anywhere just yet. Yep. I'm going to stop sharing this. And I'm going to share something else. When I get there, you guys will see it, but they won't. Let me see if I have. No, I don't have any on here. I don't think any of these have any graphing. Y'all let me know if they do. You're on EDIA again today, so I don't need to share it. You're on the EDIA app again today. If there's anything that you still have assigned to you, like those white boxes that are there, guys, you need to finish those because you're getting zeros or less than what you need to on those. On that quiz that we took the other day, variables on both sides. Some of you got like 20s and 30s, 50s. You can go back and retake that and get a higher grade. When you do that, just slip me an email and let me know that you did that. Anything that's in that white box on your homepage, you need to finish. Does everybody understand that? Go ahead and get that done. You've got plenty of time to work on all of it. Zoomers, just hang out a minute and I'll let you go. Unless Ms. Walter has told you otherwise. So, Adam, I have you. I lost him. There he is. Hunter, I have you. Kendall, I have you. Kevin, I have you. Lillian, I have you. Lucas, I have you. And Matthew, I have you. So again, unless Ms. Walter has told you to stay on, you are good to go.